Welcome to Great Life Coaching. This is Dragon 6 Golf here. Just want to talk to you for a short minute about mentors and people in your life that either help you improve or have made big impacts on your life. The first person I'm going to talk about in this is a first sergeant I had while stationed at Fort Hood. I was in 1st Cavalry Division, 2nd Battalion, 12th Cavalry, Blackjack Brigade, Delta Company, Dragon Company. I was there for about a year, and we were getting a new first sergeant. At the time, we didn't have a first sergeant, so my actual platoon sergeant, that was a sergeant first class E7, took over as acting first sergeant for a little bit. Then we got word that our first sergeant was in, but he was doing in processing, so it'd be about another week or so till he took his position as the first sergeant of Delta Company. I can remember my first impressions of him. He was a very, very strong gentleman in many ways. Physically, his appearance, his uniform was immaculate. Now, this is the day of BDUs. We could start your uniform. Boots were shined. He looked very put together. Now, I've seen this before. You see a lot of people that look squared away, but their work ethics and everything else don't really match. Not with this guy. He was professional, he was intelligent, and he was, in my eyes, something I wanted to strive to be. But I was just an E3 at the time. And I had, shortly after he came, I had became a gunner for a wing tank. Sergeant Chansey, he was at E5, he was the tank commander. I was at E3, I was his gunner. And we didn't have enough personnel to fill out 4 slots, so we only had the driver as well. Anytime we went down range, we would have to borrow a loader from another tank. But for some reason, he saw greatness in me before I even knew it. He saw me as a leader. He saw me as somebody who can get things done. And I can remember we also got a new lieutenant around the same time. And because we were short-handed, he needed a gunner. And I had finally made E4 specialist, and they put me in a gunner slot for the platoon leader, which is usually an E5 slot. And first sergeant just took me under his wing. He got me promoted to the corporal. It's a lateral promotion, but it made me into an NCO. We deployed together, went to Kuwait, and I guess this whole time he was looking at me. He was watching me, because he was preparing me for He kept sending me to all these boards. NCO of the month, NCO of the quarter, NCO of the battalion, brigade, NCO of division. Well, I kept winning with him being in the background, just mentoring me. I was beating out E7s, E6s. I was just lit on fire during that time. I was highly motivated because I had somebody telling me I could do it. Not only could I do it, but I was showing it on the battleground. I was showing it in gunnery. I became a tank crew evaluator. All these accolades were coming in, and I give him a lot of credit for that. Of course, I was the one doing it, but he was the one on my side just giving me all the praise. And he was also tough, though. Whenever I did wrong, which was kind of not often, but I messed up, he let me have it, no doubt. But I remember this specific instance. After I made E5, I was promoted to the tank commander's gunner, and eventually he got promoted to, he was still a first sergeant, but he got promoted to headquarters battalion. Matter of fact, him and the commander did. And they brought me with them and put me on the S3 section staff. S3 is operations. I had no idea what I was doing. We had an E7 and an E6 there. Now the E7 was about the PCS, so he was a section sergeant, so that fell on the E6 that we had there. But he was going to school for ANOC to become an E7, which is a 4-month course, so that left little old me in charge. Little E5, been E5 for like a minute. And I can remember surrounded by, I've never been in a staff position before, but it was a bunch of officers, a bunch of senior NCOs. We had an S3 sergeant major. Our S3 was a major. And while we were just in the rear, and I had some interactions with them, but we had a field exercise coming up, and as you know, S3 being operations, we become the TOC. We become the Tactical Operations Center. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's the headquarters for the battalion. We handle things like Green 2 reports. We know how many people are sick, how many people are injured. We know how many vehicles are down. We know if people are short on water. It's a lot of operational stuff. Too much to get into. So anyway, we go out to the field, and I had made a relationship with the command sergeant major, and he was all over the place. Like, he would take care of a lot of stuff, and he kind of reminded me of Sam Elliott. He was gray-haired, deep voice, really tall, had these deep eyebrows, and I didn't know him too well personally, but I remember specifically when I set up the TOC. First of all, I had no idea what I was doing, and I had a staff of like, I don't know, 12 soldiers. That I've never handled that many soldiers at one time, all E4 and below. And it was what we called a leadership challenge for sure. I had no idea what I was doing. Matter of fact, when we went out there, Sergeant Major came up to us and he asked where our 113 is, our Armored Personnel Carrier. And I said, I don't know, I brought the deuce and a half. So he said, I need to figure out a way to get back to the rear, go get the 113 and bring it back over here. So I did. I don't remember how I did it, but I figured it out. Brought the 113, set it up. The TOC was fully operational. Now the S3 comes in, the major comes in, and he just he explained to me what my job was. And I became very nervous at this point because he said my job was to talk to anybody who came in from battalion staff or brigade or division or whatnot, VIPs, and explain to them where we're at operationally, because he couldn't always be there. And so there's 3 times a day that we would get reports from the 4 different companies we had. There'd be a 0700, 1200, and a 1800. So an hour before my time would hit, I would call out to these units, to their first sergeants, and had them give me a Green 2 report. And then that Green 2 report tells us all we need to know. I put it up on a board, and I'm always prepared and have my soldiers prepared to give the report if necessary. So I remember this one day, it was for my 1800 report, I called Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and they all gave me their Green 2 reports. And then I called Delta, my old previous company. And that first sergeant, he was an E7. He was a platoon sergeant at the time when I was there. He was acting first sergeant. And he came on there and was like, well, just give me about an hour. I'll get it to you. And I came back to him and told him, no, we need to report now. And he tried to pull rank on me, which, people can do on the radio. But I remember specifically, and this is on the battalion net, so everybody in the battalion is listening. The battalion commander, XO, S3, everybody's listening. But that first sergeant came on the line, and he outranked him because, number one, he's a first sergeant. Number two, he's in a higher unit. And he came on there and said, this is 9 actual. In other words, this is actually him speaking to that first sergeant. Said, you have 5 mics minutes to get the report over to the top out. And just little things like that where I know, like I said, he was always watching. I know it's his duty to watch, but he didn't have to do that. He probably could have waited for me to respond or waited for somebody else to help, but he had my back the whole time. So I don't know if he's okay with me mentioning his name. I won't unless he gives me permission. Matter of fact, I still contact him. He ended up retiring as a sergeant major. But he had sent me a text one day, and he had said that I was always one of his favorite soldiers. And that hit me in a good way. Because, man, I was, 21 when this happened? I'm 45 now. That was a long time ago. But it gives me a lot of joy knowing that many years ago I had a positive impression on somebody who I admired the most. Just, I guess, a long story, or a short story, it turned long, and I rambled off a little bit. Apologize about that. Let me know who was the integral person in your life that either molded you or course corrected you. Because I can tell you from that point on, no matter what job I had as a civilian or in the military, whether I was in the leadership role or not, because of him, I was always a leader. I would always lead from the front. I still hold that to today. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share. This is Dragon 6 Golf out.